Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Dhari. Yashodanandana Braj Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to this very special holy day where we're celebrating the appearance of Krishna's expansion of Ladini Shakti, his pure love and mercy. So thank everyone for coming today. So we're going to speak a little bit about Srimati Radharani, and then we're going to tell some pastimes. And you've probably heard a lot of these pastimes, but these pastimes are transcendental. So hearing them, you could hear them a dozen or 100 times, and it's still purifying to hear these because it helps you to remember Srimati Radharani. So this song that we just sang, this Jai Radha Madhava, well, Srila Prabhupada says this song is like a picture of Vrindavan. Everything is there. There's Srimati Radharani, there's Krishna, there's Vrindavan, there's Govardhan, there's Yashoda and Nanda, and there's the Gopas and Gopis. And Srila Prabhupada, he would pray that, Srila Prabhupada's father would pray that Srila Prabhupada would become a devotee of Srimati Radharani. And also, before Srila Prabhupada arrived in America, he wrote a poem, and the poem stated, "My dear brothers, you cannot get success in Krishna consciousness unless you get the mercy of Srimati Radharani." So she's mercy personified. So there's different versions on how Srimati Radharani appeared. And one version is one that Srila Prabhupada actually told in class once. It's King Vrishabhanu, the sages had given him the blessing that if he plowed the field with a golden plow, that Srimati Radharani would appear from the earth. And so he did that, and she actually appeared from the earth. And then the second version, and probably the most popular one, is that, and this is according to different kalpas, how Srimati Radharani appeared. So once King Vrishabhanu, he was bathing. He went to bathe in the Yamuna. So anyway, he went to bathe in the Yamuna, and there was this 1,000-petal lotus floating in the Yamuna. And so he goes out and he takes the lotus and he looks inside, and inside is baby Radharani. And so he takes her to the shore, and when he does, Lord Brahma appears. And Lord Brahma tells him that in your previous life, you and Mother Kirtida, you performed great austerities to get the goddess of fortune as your daughter. And he said, now you have the supreme goddess of fortune. So her name is Radha, so take her and raise her as your daughter. And so they took Srimati Radharani to the home, but there was one problem, is that she would not open her eyes. And so they thought, well, maybe Srimati Radharani is blind. They didn't know what to do. So a little bit later on, Narada Muni comes, And he says, I heard that you have a daughter appeared in your home, so can I see her? So he took Narada Muni in to see Radharani, and as soon as Narada Muni saw her, he knew this was the supreme goddess of fortune, and he told King Vrishabhanu, go and get some paraphernalia so I can do puja to her. And when the king left, Radharani, out of her mercy, she showed herself in her youthful form to Narada Muni, and also Lalita and Vashaka were there. So this was special mercy that she gave to Narada Muni. But as soon as Vrishabhanu came back into the room, she turned back into a child. And then after about, actually Narada Muni told them, they said that, we think she hasn't opened her eyes, she may be blind. He said, no, have a big festival and invite Nanda Maharaj and Mother Yashoda to come. So they did, and so they brought Krishna, and so Krishna, while they were talking, Krishna climbed out of Mother Yashoda's lap, and he went into the room where Srimati Radharani was. And he climbed up on the bed, and he looked, and as soon as he touched her eyes, she opened her eyes. And so the first thing she saw was Krishna. And if you remember, when Krishna asked her to come down to this earth, one of her stipulations was that the first thing I want to see is you. So he fulfilled that promise to her. And then after about 7 months, they were going to do the grain ceremony where they feed the child grain for the first time. And so Mother Yashoda was sitting there with Krishna, and she was feeding him a bowl of sweet rice. And Mother Kirtana was sitting with Radharani, and so they were getting ready to feed her the grain, and instead she reaches over in Krishna's bowl and takes a big mouth of his sweet rice. So the first grain that she tasted was Mahaprasad from Krishna's bowl. So Srimati Radharani, she's such a great devotee that Krishna, not even Krishna, can actually understand. I don't know if this mic is right. Okay. So not even Krishna can understand her qualities. We know that Krishna is all-knowing. He knows everything past, present, and future. He knows everything in everyone's heart. But there's one thing that Krishna longed to know, and that was the nature of Srimati Radharani's love and the sweetness that she actually felt in experiencing his love. So Krishna could see that even though Srimati Radharani's love was unconditional, it was unmotivated, and her only pleasure in life was actually pleasing him, still she was experiencing 1,000 times more pleasure than Krishna. And he can see that. And therefore, in order to experience these things, the sweetness of Srimati Radharani, Krishna came as who? Lord Chaitanya. So by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, we're also able to relish these qualities and pastimes of Srimati Radharani. That's Lord Chaitanya's mercy on us. So Sri Radha, she's actually the pleasure-giving potency, or the Ladini Shakti of Krishna. And she's rendering service to Krishna eternally in the material and spiritual worlds. And Radha and Krishna are actually one, but they've assumed actually two bodies. And they enjoy tasting each other's mellows, mellows of love. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said that they're sometimes a puzzle to materialists. Srila Prabhupada explains that Srimati Radharani is a transformation of Krishna's love. She's a personification of love. And her love is so powerful that it even overpowers the all-powerful Lord Krishna. Can everyone hear from this mic? Is it working? Okay. So we know that Krishna is full in 6 opulences. So what are those opulences? Who can name them? Wealth, name, beauty, son, knowledge, and strength. Yes. So therefore, no amount of material opulence can attract Krishna. Just like you can't attract a millionaire by offering him a couple of dollars. We can't attract Krishna with our limited material opulence. Nevertheless, pure devotional service attracts Krishna. And Srimati Radharani is the embodiment of pure devotional service. No one can be a greater devotee than Srimati Radharani. Actually, the very name Radharani comes from the Sanskrit word aradhana. And what does aradhana mean? Worship. Yes, very good. Who said that? Her name is Radharani because she excels everyone in worshiping Krishna. And so although Krishna is so beautiful that he can attract millions of cupids, and he's called what? Madan Mohan. Radharani is called Madan Mohan Mohini because she's the attractor of cupids. And just as Krishna is the source of all incarnations, his eternal pleasure potency with Sri Radha, she's the source of all the gopis and all the goddesses of fortune. So we know that Radharani's color is like molten gold. When we chant that prayer, Tapta Krishna, go around gay. Well, it says Radharani's color is like molten gold. And her effulgence, it's so bright and amazing that when she's standing around trees and birds and things, sometimes they even take on her golden hue. And her golden complexion is so intense that sometimes even when Krishna stands by her, he turns golden. He takes on her color. So once the great sage Devasha Muni, he came to Vrindavan, and Srimati Radharani served him. And she served him so nicely that he gave her a boon that whatever she cooked, whoever ate her cooking would be free of disease, would live a long life, and have great strength. And so as soon as Mother Yashoda heard this, she went to Mother Kirtan and said, I want you to have Radharani come and cook for Krishna every day. And so she did this. And Mother Yashoda, when Krishna would kill the different demons, she said it's because of Radharani's food, that eating that food that she cooked, this is what enabled him to actually kill those demons. And there's a story, it's called Pili Pukar. Probably many of you know this story. Pili means yellow and Pukar means pond. So once when Srimati Radharani was cooking for Krishna, she was getting to leave, and Mother Yashoda came and she said, Radha, you're the perfect match for Krishna. She said, let me have your hands. And so she held her hands out, and so Mother Yashoda put turmeric on her hands. And so what does that mean when she put turmeric on her hands? It means they're engaged. It's like an engagement ring. So Srimati Radharani, she asked her, Mother Yashoda asked her, do you know what this means? And she said, no. And she said, well, it means that you're now engaged to Krishna. And Radha said, well, I love Krishna, but I'm a young girl. I don't want to be married, I just want to be free. So Mother Yashoda said, well, go and talk to your mother and Mother Kirtada and discuss it. And so Radha goes, and she goes back to her gopi friends, and she's showing them that, I'm now engaged to Krishna. I don't know what to do. So Vishaka says, Radharani has a real simple solution to that. She said, look behind you, there's a koon right there, there's a pond. So just go wash your hands and wash the turmeric off your pond. Off your hands. And then Mother Yashoda will have to come up with another plan to try to get you married to Krishna. So she does. She goes and she starts to wash her hands. And then she sees her reflection in the pond, and she starts thinking about Krishna. And she kind of goes like into a trance. And then she hears the gopis laughing. And so she turns and says, what are you laughing about? And they said, Radha, look at the pond. And so the whole pond had turned golden, like a beautiful golden color. And it was so golden that it reflected, even the trees and the animals turned golden. So they were all laughing, and they thought, we better get out of here before somebody sees what we've done. So the gopis leave. And then a little later, Krishna comes walking by, and he's looking for a calf that had strayed. And so he walks by the pond, and he looks at it, and then he walks, and he thinks, wait a minute, something's different. And he goes and he looks at the pond, and it's like just golden. And so he thinks, who did this? Did a demigod come and do this or whatever? So he goes and he looks in the pond, and he sees his own reflection, and his face is golden because of the pond reflection. So he sticks his finger in the pond, and boom, like a shock of electricity, of ecstasy went through him. And he thought, wow, he said, I've never felt this until I'm touching Srimati Radharani. So it must be her that did this. So he goes and he sticks his hand in, and again, like this shock of electricity goes through his body like ecstasy. And so he thinks, well, maybe I should wade in. So he wades up to his knees, and he wades up to his chest, and then he wades up to his neck. And the next thing you know, he's underwater, and the only thing you can see is his peacock feather walking around the pond. And all the animals are looking, and they're thinking, wow, what's going to happen to Krishna? And so it goes on for a little while, and then he comes out. And when he comes out, he's completely golden, just like the color of Srimati Radharani. And so all the animals are looking at Krishna, and he goes up to the animals, and not only does he take her color, but he completely takes her mood. He is Radharani. And so he's asking the animals, have you seen Krishna? Have you seen Krishna? I'm looking for Krishna. Please show me where Krishna is. And so this goes on for a while. He's looking in the bushes. He's looking everywhere for Krishna because he's totally in the mood of Srimati Radharani. But then gradually it wears off, and his color starts to come back, and then he realizes, well, I'm Krishna. So he starts going and looking for his cow again. So that's one of the times that Krishna actually took the color of Srimati Radharani. And then another time in Imlital, we know that Srimati Radharani, she left the rasa dance, and Krishna was looking for her. He was searching everywhere for her. And he came to this favorite tree of Srimati Radharani, and out of separation from her, he was sitting under that tree, and he was chanting her names. And as he was chanting her names, he actually again turned golden, just like Srimati Radharani. And at that moment, Srimati Radharani and the gopis, they came walking by, and they said, Krishna, can you explain to us this color and why you're chanting your own name? And so he said, in the age of Kali Yuga, I will appear with your complexion to taste your love. He said, and your compassion, I will spread your love to everyone and anyone who simply chants and broadcasts the holy Nam Sankirtan movement of the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So those are two instances where Krishna actually took the color of Srimati Radharani. So once, if you remember when Sridham and Srimati Radharani got into a big argument about Krishna, and the argument got so intense that they actually cursed each other. And this is all by the arrangement of Yoga Maya, that they cursed each other. It's all for Krishna's pleasure. So Sridham cursed her that you'll be separated from Krishna because you don't appreciate his association. You'll be separated him for 100 years. So it was right at the end of this 100 years when there was this gopi called Chandranana. She was telling about this place called Siddhashram. And so when Srimati Radharani heard that, she said, I want to hear more about this place. So she said, well, it's said that whoever bathes in this kund will never be separated from Krishna again. So as soon as Srimati Radharani heard that, she thought, we're going there. We're gonna do parikram. And so she told all the gopis, and gopis are all excited because ladies like to go travel and do things sometimes, so they were going on a parikram. So they made all the preparations, and they had the cowherd man guard, and they started out. And it's a long ways from Vrindavan, and it's closer to Dwarka. And Krishna was in Dwarka at the time. So he had his spies. He knew exactly where Srimati Radharani was, what she was doing. He knew all the things about her. So as they got closer and closer, Krishna started to exhibit all these qualities that the queens were just like bewildered. You know, he would chant Radha, Radha in his sleep, and his whole mood changed. And then Srimati Radharani, so like when you're going on a trip and you have young children and they're, okay. Okay, sorry. So when you're on a trip with your children and they're really excited to get to the place, what do they always ask? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? So that's what Srimati Radharani kept asking. She would, every so often, she would look out and say, are we there yet? Are we there yet? And so finally, Krishna said he felt she was really close. So he told the queens, we're going to go on parikram. We're going to go to this place called Siddhashram. And the queens, they were all excited because they wanted to go. And so you can imagine it's Krishna and his queens and his army, and they're all marching toward this Siddhashram. And if you had one of those drones and go over that, it would be like such an amazing thing to see, that whole entourage. And so when they got there to Siddhashram, Srimati Radharani had already arrived. And so the queens, they wanted to go and bathe, and so they set up the tents real quick, the guys did, soldiers. And so the queens went to this Siddhashram, and when they got there, it was completely surrounded by gopis, and they were holding up this veil. And so when the queens approached, the gopis says, no, you can't, no one can bathe in this kund right now because the queen of Vrindavan is bathing there. And when they looked, they saw that the whole pond and everything around the pond, the animals, everything had turned golden, just like Srimati Radharani. And so the soldiers started coming toward the gopis. They were going to separate them. And so the gopis, just by knitting their eyebrows, you know how you knit your eyebrows when you're angry sometimes, they would knit their eyebrows, and they defeated the soldiers. And this is the most powerful army in the world. And so the soldiers tried again, and again the gopis defeated them just by doing their eyebrows. And so the soldiers were embarrassed, and so they kind of walked away. And so the queens, they asked Krishna, you know, who is this person that's bathing here that has this beautiful glow? And so Krishna said, that's none other than Sri Radha. And they had heard the name Radha before, Krishna saying it. And they said, she's the daughter of King Vrishabhanu and Mother Kirtada. And she is very dear to me, and I am her only love. And so, and Krishna started talking about the beauty of Srimati Radharani. So the queens, they started to get a little jealous, and it's not like our jealous. This is all transcendental. So this is all Yogamaya's, planning. So Satyabhama, who's actually an expansion of Radharani, she said, well, you know, didn't Krishna go and get a parijata plant for me from the demigods, and Mother Rukmini, didn't Krishna, when she walked out of the palace, didn't the soldiers and the kings all faint because of her beauty? So isn't our beauty at least equal to this Radha? And so Krishna could see that they're trying to compare their beauty to Srimati Radharani. So they asked Krishna, can you go and ask this Radharani to come? And Krishna knew that what they really wanted to do is compare their beauty to Radharani. And so Krishna kind of smiled, and he sent a gopi in to tell Radharani that he had arrived. So they go in, they tell Radharani, and she immediately wants to run out. And Vishaka grabs her and says, no, you have to, there's a whole crowd out there, you have to be patient. And Radharani said, be patient, I've been waiting for 100 years, I can't be patient. So they settled her down and they fixed her hair and dressed her really nice. And so she started to walk out. And so, okay, at this point, I want everybody to close your eyes. Okay, so close your eyes and just imagine the most beautiful personality you could ever imagine or never imagine walked out, and the gopis parted like curtains, like when we greet the deities, the curtains parted, and that's the way the gopis did. And so out walked Srimati Radharani, and this is what I want you to try to see in your mind. It said that with every step that Srimati Radharani took, the whole forest and all the animals and all the people just swayed. It's like you drop a pebble in water and the ripples. So with every step, everything would ripple, all the forest and everything. So can you see that in your mind, how Srimati Radharani, the beauty of her? And it said that her effulgence was so bright that it even embarrassed the sun itself. So that's Srimati Radharani. So you can open your eyes again. So she comes out and she goes over to Krishna and she offers her obeisances, and she's speaking to Krishna a little bit, but then the queens come up. Well, I was going to say, I forgot to tell you that when Srimati Radharani walked out, not only did all the soldiers faint, but so did all the queens. All the queens, they were like wilted flowers in front of Srimati Radharani. And so they finally came to their consciousness, and they came over to Radharani and they said, please, they were praising her, and please come to our tent. And she didn't really want to do that. She just wanted to be with Krishna. So anyway, out of etiquette, she went to their tent. And so they talked all the way until that evening. And so then they put Radharani in a tent and for her to take rest. And so Rukmini, she went by Krishna's tent, and his lamp was still on. So she said, Krishna, why are you still awake? And he said, you don't understand that Srimati Radharani is a cowherd girl, and cowherd girls have hot milk every night before they go to bed. So you didn't give Radharani her hot milk, and she's not asleep. And I can't go to sleep until Srimati Radharani goes to sleep. So they run and they get some hot milk and they give it to Srimati Radharani, and then they sit there and wait till she has taken rest. And then Rukmini goes back to Krishna's tent and she starts to massage his legs, and then she gets down to his feet and there's blisters on his feet. And she said, Krishna, how did you get these blisters on your feet? And he said, again, you don't understand the love that Srimati Radharani has for me. He said, she's captured me in her heart, as a prisoner in her heart with her love. And because you gave her, the milk that you gave her was too hot, it caused blisters to come on my feet. So that's the love that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. So then later on, at the next day, these queens had a plan. They wanted to do the rasa dance. And so they went to Krishna and they asked him, Krishna, you're here, Radharani's here, can we do the rasa dance? And so he said, well, you have to go to Radharani. She's the power behind the rasa dance. So they went to Srimati Radharani, and she was very hesitant because when the gopis do the rasa dance, they want nothing in return. They don't want any pleasure from it. All they want to do is please Krishna. So it's a pure dance. And she could see that these queens, they also wanted that, but they also wanted a little bit of enjoyment for themselves, So she knew that Krishna wanted it, so she agreed. So they started to showed the queens the different mudras and the different dance steps. And so they had the rasa dance. And usually a rasa dance, it seems like it lasts all night, but actually a rasa dance lasts for years and years and years, but it just seems like it's in one night. So after the rasa dance, the queens were all ecstatic. And so they ran up to Radharani and they said, wasn't that the best rasa dance ever that you've ever been in? And just like Radharani loved to humble the queens, she told him, she said, that rasa dance was not 1% the rasa dance that we have in Vrindavan. She said it doesn't even come close. She said, where is Govardhan Hill? Where are the forests of Vrindavan? Where is the Yamuna River? So again, she was able to humble the queens, but at the same time, the queens got the mercy of being able to participate in the rasa dance. So once Srimati Radharani, she would go into a trance, and she would think that Krishna is with her, and then she would wake up and she is gone, and then she'd go into a trance again, and Krishna was with her, and then same thing, she'd wake up and he was gone, and so she thought, Krishna's playing tricks on me, he's toying with me. So when Krishna came, the gopis told him, look, you should go to Shamkund, wait there, we'll send Radharani to you later on. So Krishna did, and Radharani comes by, and she's mad at Krishna because she thinks that he was playing, games on her. So she just walked right by him. She just ignored him. And so Krishna's wondering what's going on. And so the gopis, Lalita and Vishaka, tell him, what happened, and she thinks you were just playing games with her. So Krishna comes in front of her, and he offers his obeisance. He asks her to please forgive him. He says, you don't understand, because of your beauty, sometimes I faint, and you think I'm not with you, but I'm actually with you. So if you want me to be with you, you have to withdraw your beauty a little bit so I can be with you. And so this kind of made Radharani, it appeased her a little bit. And so she asked Krishna, she said, you always talk about my beauty, but I've heard that there's one personality that may be more beautiful than me, and that's your Mohini Murti form. And she said, I'd like to see that form. And so Krishna said, no, you're more beautiful than Mohini Murti. And she said, no, I want to see that form. And the gopis did also. So Krishna turns, and then he turns back around, and he's turned into the form of Mohini Murti. And he has a beautiful gold sari on, very beautiful. And so he steps over beside Radharani, and the gopis are looking, and they said, yeah, it's no contest. Radharani is by far the most beautiful, even more beautiful than Mohini Murti. So Radharani was happy that she still had to beat Mohini Murti. So sometimes when Krishna and Radharani, they sometimes dance with the peacocks. Peacocks like to dance when it's about to rain and thundering. So they like to dance with the peacocks. And anybody here can make the sound of a peacock? Yeah. All right. Very good, very good. So it says actually all right, enough peacocks. So it says that when the peacocks, they're actually saying ki-ka, but it sounds like meow. And it means, ki means who other than Krishna has control over all things animate and inanimate. And ka means who other than Srimati Radharani has control over Krishna and Vraja. So we know that Srimati Radharani has many unlimited qualities, but we know that she has 25 principal qualities. And two of those qualities are that she always keeps Krishna under her control, and she's always full of mercy. She's mercy personified. So Srila Prabhupada says that Radharani is Hari Priya. She's very dear to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada sometimes describes Srimati Radharani as Krishna's tender-hearted, transcendental female counterpart. And he said that Srimati Radharani is the best devotee of Krishna because she loves him the most. Her only pleasure in life is actually to please Krishna. And she's willing to do anything and everything possible for Krishna's pleasure with absolutely no expecting nothing in return. Srimati Radharani states that if serving Krishna means I have to tolerate immense suffering, immense distress, then that suffering is actually my greatest happiness because it pleases Krishna. So once Srimati Radharani, she was standing in the forest, and Lalita and Vishaka came up, and she was crying. Radharani was just crying and crying. And they said, Vishaka said, Radha, why are you crying? And she said, you of all people should ask me that? And she said, what did I do? And she said, you painted this beautiful picture of this blue cowherd boy. And when I was looking at this picture, it jumped out of the picture and kissed me on my cheek. And she said, and since then, I've fallen in love with that boy. And so they were saying, okay, well. And she said, no, you don't understand. I'm supposed to be the most chaste woman, but I heard this cowherd boy playing the flute. And she said, as soon as I heard that flute, it went right into my heart. And I fell in love with that boy. And then also I heard this name, Krishna. He said, as soon as I heard the name Krishna, immediately I was like just transformed. I fell in love with that name. She said, so you don't understand. I'm supposed to be chaste, but I'm in love with 3 different men. And so Vachaka and Lalita started laughing, and they were, and Radha said, how can you laugh when you know I'm in such distress? And they told her that no, you're not in love with 3 men. It's all that they're all Krishna. And so in this way, Srimati Radharani is teaching us how we can develop love for Krishna, because the painting exhibits what? It exhibits the form of deity, the form of Krishna, the deity. The flute represents his pastimes, just like we're hearing now. And his name is, like we chant every day, we're chanting Hare Krishna. So worshiping the deities, hearing the pastimes, and chanting Hare Krishna, Radharani is showing us by this example how we can actually develop love for Krishna. So we know that, yeah.
Sorry, I really didn't want to interrupt the class, but we have a red Honda Civic, license plate VHY0078. It's blocking the driveway of Narottam Prabhu Mother Kumkumangi's Krishna house just across the street. If that's your car, red Honda Civic VHY0078, please move it. Thank you.
So we know sometimes that Mother Yoga Maya, she arranges that it seems like Krishna and Radharani are meeting for the first time. Even though they've met many times before, she makes this arrangement to make it ever fresh when they meet. And so once Krishna was walking with the cowherd boys, and he saw Radha from a distance, and he was just fell in love with her right away, just seeing her. And so he's walking with Madhu Mangal and Sridham and Subal, and he asked Sridham, he said, Sridham, have you ever met this girl named Radha? And Madhu Mangal says, what are you talking about, Krishna? Sridham is Radharani's brother. Of course he's seen her, he's met her. And Krishna was kind of embarrassed. And so he's walking with them. And in the meantime, Radharani was telling the gopis, they were in her house, in her room, and she told them that I heard this name Krishna. And she said, ever since I heard that name, it's just captured my heart, and I can't get it out of my head or my heart. It's all I think about is Krishna, Krishna. And they said, well, don't worry, we'll never mention his name again. And she said, no. She said, it's too late. She said, it's already there. And so she said, what can I do? And they said, well, why don't you write Krishna a letter? So they get all the paraphernalia together for her to write a letter. And this is going to be the shortest love letter you've ever heard. She starts to write the letter, and she writes K-R-S. And as soon as she gets through with the S, she goes into this trance. And her love goes out into the room, and all the gopis are in a trance. They're all like statues, and they're all just standing there. And this goes on for like hours. And then gradually the sun comes through the window, and they start to, wake up a little bit, come back to consciousness. And Vishaka looks down at the letter, and she said, at this rate, it's going to take us a week to write this letter, So she tells Radharani, no, that's perfect. You've written everything you need to say to Krishna, and Radharani's looking KRS, and so they take the letter and they give it to one of the gopis, and they say, go and give this letter to Krishna. So the gopis, like a compass always points north, the gopis, their hearts always point toward Krishna. So these gopis knew which direction to go and how to find Krishna. So in the meantime, Krishna is there, and he's lamenting, how can I meet this Radharani? And so Madhamangal, he's always a jokester, and he's always bragging about what a big Brahmin he is. He said, don't worry, Krishna. He said, just by my Brahmin tejas, he said, I can bring this Radha to you. And so he chants this mantra, and just by happened that these two gopis came with the letter, and they gave the letter to Krishna, and of course Madhamangal took all credit for it. He said, see, I told you I can do this. So they give the letter to Krishna, and Krishna gives it to Sridham, and he says, or to Subal actually, he says, read the letter. And Subal says, no, it's written to you, so you need to read the letter. So Krishna opens it up, and he sees KRS. And and I tried to find it. I had Jagaranga looking. We looked everywhere to try to find where this pastime was. But it was the most beautiful love letter you've ever heard. And just in that KRS, Krishna, it was a beautiful, long love letter. Radharani expressing her love for him and how she longed to meet him. And so it was an amazing letter. So Krishna thinks, well, what can I do, So they're saying, the two gopis said, well, why don't you write her a letter back? So Krishna, they make all the arrangements, and so Krishna starts to write a letter, and he writes R.A., and then he goes into a trance. And then it spreads out to all his gopa friends, and then they're standing there like statues, and all the animals. And so this goes on for a while, and then finally they come to consciousness, and they say, okay, Krishna, your letter is good, send it to Radharani. So the gopis took it back, and they gave it to Radharani, and she saw R.A. And here again, it was a beautiful love letter that Krishna had written back to Radharani, telling her that he also had fallen in love with her, and that he wanted to meet her. And he arranged for a certain place, a kun, where they can meet that night. So Srimati Radharani was so happy, and so they're getting her all dressed and fixing her hair, and she's so beautiful. And so she gets ready to go to meet Krishna, and she asked the gopis, she said, do you think I look okay for Krishna? And the gopis said, Radha, you could go out with no jewelry, no makeup, and just in your night dress, and the demigods would fall from heaven just because of your beauty. That's how beautiful you are. So Radharani was pleased, and so she went and she met with Krishna, and they actually spent some time together, and they were both very happy. So if we approach Krishna through Srimati Radharani, through the mercy of Srimati Radharani, then it becomes very easy because Srila Prabhupada says, if you can please Radharani, one who can easily please Krishna also. So if you please Srimati Radharani, Krishna is automatically pleased. If Radharani says, this is a very nice devotee, Krishna, and then Krishna will immediately accept her because he was recommended, or she was recommended by Srimati Radharani. Therefore, when you're in Vrindavan, many of you have been to Vrindavan, what do they chant? They don't chant Krishna so much. What do they chant? Jai Radhe Radhe. Yeah, I remember one night I was staying on top of the palace in Govardhan, and all night that's what I heard, Radhe Radhe, and it was just so amazing to hear that. So especially now, I'm sure that with it being Radhashtami. So Srimati Radharani has a mother-in-law and a sister-in-law, and they're named Jatila and Kutila. And Jatila and Kutila, they were always trying to catch Radharani with Krishna, and they were always criticizing Radharani, trying to find some fault with her. And so this went on, and it was making Srimati Radharani very sad because rumors were going around about her and everything. And, you know, she was just very chaste, and she didn't like to hear these rumors. So Krishna came up with a plan of how to prove that Srimati Radharani was the most chaste lady. So he talked to Yogamaya, and they came up with a plan. So one day, Mother Yashoda came in to wake Krishna up, and Krishna said, "Ma, I don't feel well." And when he said that, Mother Yashoda, just her heart sunk, and she felt, and sure enough, he had a fever. And so she calls all the doctors, all the Kavirajas, and she calls them to come. And they're all checking him out, and they were saying, yeah, he is, you know, he has a fever. If we don't correct this soon, Krishna may not live. And so all the cowherd boys, they're crying, and everybody's crying, and so they don't know what to do. So Nanda Maharaj, he's walking around, pacing, and he sees this young boy come by, and beautiful young boy, and he asks him, he says, I don't know you, who are you? And he said, well, I'm a very famous Kaviraj, and it was actually Krishna. So Krishna came as a doctor, as a Kaviraj, and so Nanda Maharaj takes him in, and he says, is Krishna looking at Krishna? And so he says, yeah, I can cure him, I have the cure. He said, but what it's going to take is the most chaste lady in the village has to take a pot of water from the Yamuna, and this pot has 1,000 holes in it, 1,000 tiny holes in it, and they have to take that pot, put it on their head, and bring it back to me, and then I'll chant a mantra, and this will cure Krishna. So they go to the Yamuna, and all the ladies are, you know, they're all shy, so nobody wants to step forward and say, I'm the most chaste. But Jatila and Kutila, you know, they're kind of proud of their beauty and everything. So Kutila is telling her mother, come on, you're the most chaste, you should step forward. So she proudly steps forward, and she says, yes, I can do this. So she takes the pot, dips it in the Yamuna, puts it on her head, and all of a sudden, just gets soaked. And all the gopis are laughing at her, and she's really embarrassed. And so she tells her daughter, okay, now you it's your turn. You're actually the most chaste. So Kutila goes, and she takes the pot, dips it in, puts it on her head, same thing. She got totally drenched. So nobody wants to step forward after that because it was embarrassing. So finally, some of the gopis say, actually, Radha is the most chaste. She should be the one to do this. And Radha's kind of hesitant, but they encourage her, and she goes and she starts to dip the pot. And when she dips the pot in the Yamuna, she sees Krishna's face, and he's smiling at her, assuring her that this is going to be fine. So she takes the pot and she puts it on her head. Not one drop of water comes out. And so she walks back and she gives the water to the Kaviraj, who is Krishna. And so he puts it in Krishna's mouth, and after a few minutes, Krishna wakes up and his fever goes away and he's completely cured. And so in this way, Krishna proved to everyone that Srimati Radharani is by far the most chaste lady in the world. So once Krishna he likes to go to this place called Tarakadamba. Has anybody ever been to Tarakadamba? Yeah, it's a beautiful place. And there's a kund there, and Krishna liked to take his cows there and water his cows, give water to the cows. So he's sitting there, and he's sitting by the road with his back to the road, and he's milking a cow because he knows the gopis are going to be coming there real soon. So sure enough, he hears these tingle of the ankle bells, and the gopis are coming, and he's acting like he's ignoring them, but he's actually looking out of the corner of his eye, and he's watching Srimati Radharani, and she's surrounded. They got her in the middle, and she's surrounded by all the gopis. So he's ignoring her, and she's also acting like she's ignoring him, but at the same time, she's looking through her veil at Krishna. So as Krishna's sitting there with his back to them, they're coming closer, and it said the tension started to build because they knew Krishna was getting ready to do something, but they didn't know what it was. So it got closer and closer, and it said everything got quiet. The animals stopped, it just, the whole place got silent and didn't know what was going to happen. And as it got right by Krishna, Krishna took one of the cow's teats and he squirted it, and it went right over the gopis and went right in Radharani's face. And so Radharani squealed or yelled out. And so then Krishna started hosing down all the gopis. And so they're all running around. And so Krishna sees that Radha's kind of open. There's nobody there to protect her. So he jumps up and he runs over and he kisses Radharani on the cheek. And he grabs her arm. And so everything kind of cleared up. And Vishaka, she sees it. And she runs over and she starts yelling at Krishna. She said, "You scoundrel, get away from Radharani. Let her go." And it said Krishna is fear personified. Fear fears him. But he said he's still afraid of Vishaka. He fears her. So he let Radharani go. But before he did, he kissed her again on the cheek. And then he went over to the cowherd boys. And the cowherd boys are going, "Yeah, Krishna, you know," they're like, "You're the hero, you did it." So we know that Uddhava, who's the greatest bhakta of all the residents of Dwarka, he prayed and he performed tapasya. He performed tapasya to be what? What did he become? What did he want to become? Anyone know? The blades of grass or the bushes at Pushpavan. And so he prayed for this, so that the servants of Srimati Radharani would come and actually walk on his head with their lotus feet, and also Srimati Radharani. And we know that Lord Brahma, the first living being in this universe who lives like 311 trillion years, he also performed tapasya and offered prayers to become the mountain on which the house of Radharani and her associate would be situated in Varshana. And Lord Brahma, it says Lord Brahma considered the most precious thing in all of creation was to have the dust of Srimati Radharani and her servants on his head. So he became the hill that they built Radharani's home on and temple on. So we know that there's different camps of devotees. But the two most prominent ones are Chandravali has her camp, and her head gopi is Padma, and Padma's real stern, just like our Padma, and so then Radharani has her camp also, and Lalita and Vishaka are her leaders. And so we know that Chandravali, she's very submissive. That's her nature. She has a very submissive nature. But Radharani, she's not like that. She's very contrary. She's quick to get angry. And it's said that anger actually pleases Krishna more than the prayers of great sages, just to get Srimati Radharani angry. And when he got her angry, he loved that, because then he would have to come up with a plan of how to actually make up with her. And it would be a challenge for him. And so once he even called Srimati Radharani on purpose, he called her Chandra. And so Srimati Radharani got very angry at him. And Krishna loved it, because he thought, now I have to come up with this. And there's a whole story of how he came up with the plan to actually please Srimati Radharani. So this is a difference between Chandravali and Radharani. Chandravali thinks, I belong to Krishna, and Radharani thinks Krishna belongs to me. And so that's the mood of Srimati Radharani. So let's see. I have one more story that I can tell. Do you want to hear the story of how King Kamsa became a gopi? Yeah, okay. So when King Kamsa, everybody know who King Kamsa is. He's a demoniac king who sent the demons to kill Krishna. He sent all these demons to kill Krishna. And so he heard about Srimati Radharani's beauty and the beauty of the gopis, but especially Radharani. He wanted to see her. So one day he came to Vrindavan with his army, and he told his army, you stay here, I'm going to go into the forest and find some water. So he came up on this coon, it's called Kishori coon. And so he reaches down and he gets a handful of water and drinks the water, and then he turns around and his horses are looking at him and they're like, they don't know who he is. So he's thinking, you know, why are my horses acting like that? So he goes over and he gets another drink of water, and when he looks at his reflection in the pond, he become a gopi, this beautiful gopi. And he thought, what's going on? How did this happen, you know? And he said, I can't go back to my soldiers looking like a woman. He said, they're not going to respect me at all, and he didn't know what to do. And so all of a sudden, Lalita and Vishaka come, and they're saying, who are you? And he said, I'm a king. I'm King Kamsa. I have a huge army, a huge kingdom. And he said, I don't know how I got this woman's body. And they said, well, there's only one person that can actually help you with this, and her name is Radha. So they took Kamsa to Srimati Radharani, and so she walks in, and she said, so who are you again? And he told her who he was. I'm a king. And she said, he said, I don't want to be a woman. I want to be a king again. I want my body back. And he had a very powerful body. He was as strong as they say as 10,000 elephants. That's the strength of King Kamsa. And so he really wanted to get his body back. So he said, I'll do anything. I'll do anything you ask. And so Radharani said, anything? And he said, yes. And she said, all right, from the time Krishna was born, you sent demons to kill him, one after another. She said, from now on, don't ever send another demon to kill Krishna. And he said, I promise. And she said, you promise what? And he said, I promise. She said, repeat it. He said, I promise to never send another demon to kill Krishna. And so she said, and if you do, if you break your promise, she said, you're going to get a woman's body forever. You'll never turn back into a king again. So he comes to promised, and he went. She said, now go to the south side of Kishori Pond, drink the water there, and you'll again get your body back. But you have to take the vow again at the lake that you'll never send another demon to kill Krishna. And I don't know, I guess he didn't sin because he didn't turn into a woman, so I guess he fulfilled that promise. So Srila Prabhupada explains that if we're sincere, if we're serious, if we have no other ulterior motives, then Srimati Radharani, she'll give us love for Krishna. Therefore, if we try to reach Krishna by going through praying to Srimati Radharani, then Krishna will certainly give us devotional service. He'll certainly be pleased. This is why Radha's names come, you know, when we say Radha Kalachandji, Radha's name is first. Radha Kalachandji, Radha Krishna, Radha Govinda, Hari Krishna. This Hari is Srimati Radharani. So, in other words, devotional service is not an activity of this material world. It is directly under the control of Srimati Radharani. So if we pray sincerely, especially today, if we pray sincerely for Srimati Radharani's mercy, then we'll also get Krishna's mercy, and we'll get the compassion of Srimati Radharani. So just thank you so much for being such a nice audience, and just please pray to Srimati Radharani and just try to think of her and remember these pastimes. That's what's so nice about hearing pastimes. They're actually like scripture. You can it's just like if I say the name John Smith, what comes to your mind? Nothing. You don't know him or anything. But if I say Nrsinga Rupa, immediately all these thoughts come into your mind. He's temple president, he's such a nice person, such a sweet guy. And so by hearing these pastimes, when you hear the name Radha, all these pastimes can come into your mind and you can remember her. So again, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.